Technology. It has made parenting easier, but some perhaps taking it too far, literally and figuratively. A growing number of parents are leaving their children home alone with nothing but a baby monitor, and some winding up in jail because of it. Experts are now sounding the alarm. Dr. Harvey Karp, creator of the Snoo, cultural changing book, The Happiest Baby on the Block, joins us with his reaction. Are you ever introduced without that said first?
Listen, you know something, as a pediatrician, it just warms my heart to be able to help families out there. So thank you so much for that.
Well, you have helped a lot, to say the least, and which is why we wanted to get your take on this new phenomenon. Let me preface it by saying maybe I'm just old school or maybe I'm paranoid, but it never occurred to me to leave my house and only have a baby monitor to watch my kids. But when you hear these stories, you hear that producer and she and her husband, you know, left their kid in a hotel room, but I had the monitor right here the whole time. What is your reaction?
Well, Holly, of course, the first reaction is to give condolences and sympathy to this family. I mean, this man was 37 and he dropped dead of a heart attack. Right. I mean, it's just shocking what the family is having to go through at the beginning of the year. That's not an excuse for leaving your child with just a monitor to connect you to, but it is a recognition that parents are under stress and they're struggling. And I think that when we used to have, you know, your sister lived with you and your grandmother and you had this extended family, you just said, Grandma, can you watch the baby? I'm going out with my husband. You know, it was a simple operation. Now it's more complex for families. Again, there's not an excuse to leave your child. You can never leave your child alone with a monitor watching them and go out to dinner. It's just not okay.
Okay, I agree that it's not okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. So I'm the parent, and I'm like, look, I've read The Happiest Baby on the Block. I'm using all of Harvey Karp's tips, and my child's sleeping through the night, and so I've put him down, and I'm just going to run next door. I mean, I'm right next door. I'm going to have a glass of wine with my neighbor, and I got the monitor right here. I can see him the whole time. You say. So
the question is, what could happen? What could possibly happen? Because listen, when you have a baby, you sign a contract. It's an unwritten contract, but you sign a contract. I am going to be there to protect my children. And if I can't be there, I'm going to make sure a competent adult will be there to protect my children. So what could have happened? The child could have fallen out of the crib, the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old could have gotten a skull fracture. The 2-year-old could have fallen out of the crib and been okay, and then pulled a television down on top of herself. There could have been a fire in the building, and no one could have gotten to the children. I mean, these are rare occurrences, but it's the reason why we never leave children unattended. So it's just not okay. Can you go in the shower? You know what, your child, of course you can. Yeah. Can you go down the hallway? Can you run next door and come back? I think that any reasonable person understands that there may be, you know, a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes when you're not going to be in attendance, but you can't go out for an hour. You can't leave your children like that. Yeah,
it's not a social setting, because you know what, minutes matter, right? In those type of settings. We were talking about it here. We have an anchor, Jeanette Reyes. She has a newborn, a child that's under a year old, and she was like, basically what you're doing, and you made an excellent point, is like you're signing yourself up to watch tragedy happen. I mean, to be able to witness it, because if in fact something does happen and you see it and you can't get there, and 5 minutes can be in an eternity, how are you going to feel then?
It can be an eternity. Your child is choking and coughing, and you can't get there in time. This is the role of a parent, is to protect their child until they are old enough to be able to protect themselves. Now, listen, monitors can be fine. It can certainly help you. You're in your bedroom. The child's in a different room. You can watch the monitor to see if your baby is fussing. Do you really need to go in yet? Right. Or maybe the child's going to calm themselves. That's you know, perfectly wonderful way of using technology. But you can't go to work and leave your baby attended by a monitor. I'm not saying they did that, but you can't go out to dinner and leave your baby attended by a monitor. It's just a step too far.
And we should say it's against the law. There are real consequences.
Well, and unfortunately, this poor mom is suffering that. And I think our heart goes out to her. Obviously, you know, this woman had no ill intentions. Sure. They were trying to just get out, and they thought that they were doing what was reasonable. But what most people would do in that situation is arrange for a babysitter.
Right.
You know, the hotel can help you with that. I'm going to get a babysitter so there's someone there who immediately can take care of an emergency situation. And that's really the responsibility of parents.
Well, Dr. Karp, we love having you as a resource. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your insight this morning.
Thank you, Holly.
All right, take care. And there's all his information. I highly suggest that you follow him.